the other thing that we really had to focus on and talk with people about was that because they may not see a ton of aircraft or dozers or a whole bunch of hand crews, that doesn't mean we weren't doing anything. We came up with a pretty specific long-term plan, and what it set was different conditions and time periods that we needed to accomplish things. So this was evaluating the weather on a regular basis. It was continually monitoring the fire, setting physical things on lines on the ground to where the fire progressed to that point, we would take additional action and do certain things. And there was a whole list of that, and we created I don't know, it was probably a 30-page plan that evaluated all of that. And then that had its own time frame where it was updated on a regular basis throughout the evolution. So those fires were managed for several months until the snow and rain eventually put them out late into the fall. They were managed for pretty low cost. And I think that's one area where we probably didn't tell people well enough. We didn't tell the story well enough that, you know, had we tried to have a heavy hand on those fires, our chance of success in really changing the outcome of what would have happened and where those fires would have moved and where they're gone probably wouldn't have been much different because of the nature of how fire works in that area and the topography. So we could have spent a lot of money and had the same outcome. And the way we chose to manage it was much more cost effective. And that's for at least me, that's a big consideration when I'm using taxpayer dollars. And I think for a lot of fire management is taking all of that stuff into account and weighing all those options and trying to come to a strong decision. So several thousand acres managed in there, a lot of positive impacts, still under evaluation. That's the other part of it that follows up is we're funding and working and cooperating with researchers, our own internal staff folks, to evaluate what those fires did on the ground. Everything so far indicates it was pretty positive. And the other big part of that is the positive relations we increased with the communities and the people there and those educational moments. So there was a number of folks that I talked to personally that I'd like to think at least they walked away with a different perspective on how to manage fire. And I think that's a little bit different than a lot of places.